The drasti gives you experience of wholeness. When you operate from wholeness, you see the conditioned experience from the experiential lens, right? It's not a philosophy, it's not a theory. When you experience the conditioning, what happens is like learning that magic. And when you learn the magic, it cannot empower you. So what happens is, you feel the moment you feel the stress, the drusty lens will be activated in you. And then you're like, oh no, this reaction was learned. So I can see what I'm feeling, but it's not me who's feeling. It's the conditioning which is experiencing the feeling. So instead of I am stressed, I will start saying I'm experiencing stress or I'm feeling stress.
Okay, Pratik. So, in the previous episodes, we spoke about your personal journey and we also talked about conditioning. So, what is next?
Well, once we know what conditioning is, I think I probably said this in my journey episode that when I learn something, the very first thing I do is apply. So when we learn about conditioning, we should look at where we can apply. And the best way to look at is our daily life. Because from the moment we wake up and the moment we go to sleep, in between all the time, we are governed by the conditioning. So the next thing is our day-to-day life.
And why is it important to look at the day to day life?
Because we live our life through conditioning and we don't really get a chance to stop or take a pause and see why am I doing what I am doing, right? We do things because we want something in return. And there's nothing wrong in that because everyone does that and that's what we have learned. But when we realize that the way we've been living our life, it always left us with some sort of incompleteness. It gives us some sort of insecurity. It gave us, waiting for something. It never gave us fulfillment, which stays forever, right? That we need to start from our daily life to understand the energy behind who drives our actions, who drives our emotions, how they've been structured. It's like we've been looking at the magic and we are fascinated by it. And we don't know how the magic is done, so we feel the wow. And then one day we figure out that, oh, this is how the trick was played at us. And this is the behind the curtain, strategy. From that moment, if you see that same magic again, it's not going to give you the thrill. Not only that, if you see any other magic, now you know that every magic is a trick. So it won't have that much power over you as you had before when you didn't know how the magic is being done. And that's why, kids are more fascinated by the magics than the grown-ups because grown-ups already know. So same thing applies to conditioning.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you think that people normally do when they feel pressure, loneliness, boredom, emotional heaviness?
Right now, if we see the way people live their life from the conditioned self, they try to do many things. And I would like to say here that I'm not saying that every activity they undertake is because of this, but mostly it's because of this. So I'm also going to say how to really find out why you're taking up those activities. So, let's look at normal people's life. So Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday, they go to work. So from the morning, most majority of the day is spent at work. And they come home, they eat, and they watch telly or maybe sit with the family and go to bed. Then comes the weekends, and over the weekends you've got the house chores which you haven't done for the whole week. So you do your laundries and your shopping, and your 6 days are just full of work. And then Sunday you want to relax. So most people will choose to stay home. Some people choose to go out, then people go for birthday party, people go on holidays, people go for movies, they go on a restaurant, they go for shopping, they do lots of things, right? But what is the reason behind this is we don't know. Because we do all these things, and what these things essentially doing is taking you out of where you are stressed, you're worried, you're in emotional pain, or you feel you have no value and this is all you've been doing, the lack of self-worth. You temporarily getting a stimulation by doing these things like going for shopping, going for movies, going to see friends. And that just, I would say that is a distraction, when the reason for you to do that is coming to escape from this, because you just can't do it. You burn out.
So, based on this, are we saying that enjoyment, like going out for meals or shopping or holidays, are we saying that these are wrong?
No, I'm not saying they are wrong. But what I'm saying is, what is the reason you chose to take that activity? Right? Because to me, if like we watch Instagram, I think the most relatable example is people who use substance, like they drink alcohol or they smoke or any other type of substance. What are they really trying to do is get some relief, isn't it? And it's psychological. I mean, those chemicals don't really give you relief, but it's a temporary escape from what you were feeling. So, you had a meeting with your manager and he told you you're for something, even though it wasn't your fault. You were all fine. You didn't, you did everything you had to. But your manager had some other pressure, and then he had to vent his pressure out to someone. So he chose you. Which means you went out, had a cigarette, or if it was Thursday, Friday, you went home and you were so frustrated by that event and you started to drink. So what happens that you forget in those moments what you are feeling. And once you are over it, those feelings come back, or something else will occupy your attention. So you kind of suppressing those feelings and those emotions. So if going for shopping was for you to take away yourself or your attention and your focus from where you are, which is not pleasant, it's an escape. If you are watching something on a TV, and you are the only reason you're watching it because you couldn't sit on your own and figure out what is this causing. And we don't even know what is this causing. We don't even know we should sit down and think, because we are so busy just taking actions to overcome on, like quick relief. That's what we are driven to. We look at Instagram reels or, any social media feeds, and, we keep scrolling. What is that? We are escaping from the feelings which we do not want to address.
That makes sense. And why do people choose to basically distract themselves rather than facing or understanding what they're feeling?
I think a conditioning, I know I'm 90% of the time I'm using this word conditioning, and unfortunately I can't, the other word I can find is programming, but it doesn't take the meaning away. So, we grew up seeing people living their life, and we adapted the way to live the life like that, mostly. And what is really happening is we also see how they deal with relaxation. So if we see, like we see a scene in a movie, and the actor who is stressed, he's worried about something, and he is consuming alcohol and a cigarette. And we do see the big sign there that tobacco and alcohol injurious to your health. But we still learn to do that because somehow we program, not somehow, by just watching it, our subconscious gets programmed that this gives you relief. So, there is a society there. They go on holidays, and Do you know, I mean, I've seen these in my very own eyes. Like, I was working in a farm and there were a number of staff, and, someone's booked holidays a month ago. The whole month, that person keeps saying, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to be here, I'm staying in this hotel. Okay, there are three ways of looking at it. Okay. One, the person is showing off, okay, that I'm going on a holiday, which is rarely the case. It is the case, but not most of the time. Number two, they are still at the place in their environment where they don't feel happy, they don't feel fulfilled. So they are going to escape it for a week or two, but they are trying to bring those future memory, future imagination into today to bring some relief to their today, right? So people go and do this, and so we learned it from people around us as we were growing. Like, we hear, oh, we went for movies and it was nice. Yeah, movies can be nice. We went so and so place, it was nice. Or they went and did some activities. And trust me, the activities are a really, really good thing to do. My question isn't whether you should do it or not. My question is, what is the driving force behind what you are doing? Whether it's shopping, whether it's eating. I mean, eating is something we'll talk about it in a few minutes. But, emotional eating, binge watching stuff, going on shopping, going holidays, you name things. And whatever we do rarely, it's all temporary relief. And at least that's how I've experienced them.
Yes, interesting. And for example, the social media, how does that become a daily distraction? And how can someone use social media through the Drusty lens?
Very interesting, and it's a very relevant question as well. As I said earlier, we are in a particular state which is not favorable, not something we enjoy to be in. And somehow we are always in that state, which could be stress, which could be worry, which could be insecurities, which could be fear. And because our mind is constantly thinking, it's going in a loop, and the situation internally gets worse and worse, we are driven to a relief because we don't have energy anymore to feel the stress. Because stress, all the negative emotions, create contractions in us, right? They make us feel tight, our breath goes short. So it utilizes the energy of the body. So it cannot go on forever. So it needs some sort of release. So, people smoke, people drink, people use other substance. And I feel social media is also performing the same duty, basically. So, I've seen a number of places. Like, I remember when I came to UK and I traveled on a tube, people used to just sit by themselves. Some of them would be reading book. Some of them would be talking to each other. If I go now, everyone's like this, right? And they're even walking with looking at the phone. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I mean, I'm not here to judge people as long as they feel good. That's what is important. What my question is, if you lost your phone and if you couldn't have the data and your phone for a week, what would you do? What would happen to you? That is my question. So social media is what you're really doing is depends what sort of content you watch, right? But most of the things generally people watch is entertainment, right? So you're engaging in someone's story, which means in that moment you've forgotten your own story, you've forgotten your own emotions, and you're actually escaping from what you're doing. Now, the way, now if we see the whole scenario from different perspective, the drusty gives you experience of wholeness. When you operate from wholeness, you see the conditioned experience from the experiential lens, right? It's not a philosophy, it's not a theory. When you experience the conditioning, what happens is like learning that magic. And when you learn the magic, it cannot empower you. So what happens is, you feel the moment you feel the stress, the drusty lens will be activated in you. And then you're like, oh no, this reaction was learned. So I can see what I'm feeling, but it's not me who's feeling. It's the conditioning which is experiencing the feeling. So instead of I am stressed, I will start saying I am experiencing stress or I'm feeling stress. I'm not stressed. I'm the watcher. I'm the observer. I'm watching what is happening in my body, in my thoughts, in my emotions, and my physical body. I can see those things. So when you do that, and if you still look at Instagram, I think you are more going to engage in the content which is creative, which you feel it's more, you could appreciate by looking what people have created. Or it could be to do with something interesting, right? Connecting with people. Because there is no outcome. You didn't hold your phone in your hand because you are trying to escape. There was no reason for you to escape. But you are watching it with consciousness. You are aware of what you're doing. You are aware of what you're learning from this. Instead of blindly just keep looking and scrolling. You're not doing that anymore. You're experiencing it. So that is the difference between, experiencing life from conditioned self and the real self.
Yes, that's very fascinating. And just like social media, there's also another popular subject, which is food, which you mentioned earlier, and you said that you're going to talk about it. So, should we focus on that?
Of course, food is very interesting subject because everyone would love that, right? And as a hypnotherapist, I have hypnotized many people on weight loss. Okay, so the whole, please don't get me wrong, okay, but it is true, and hopefully soon you will realize what I'm about to say, but do not criticize me for what I'm about to say. The whole idea of food from conditioned self is about the taste, right? It's about the spices which are being used. So that's one aspect of looking at the food, like what tastes good and what doesn't taste good. The second aspect of looking at the food is the nutrition values in them, right? So then we label the food. This is a good food. This is a bad. This is a junk food. This is healthy food. So, for a normal person to get extremely confused about what to eat and what not to eat is a challenge. I can actually do a full episode on food, which I'm thinking we might do at a later date. But when we are consuming food from conditioned self, we are driven by the taste and the nutrition values and everything. And that is okay. My main concern is, how we end up consuming sugar. So when we have some sort of lack in us, whether it's lack of, security, lack of attention, lack of self-worth, lack of confidence, and we want to fulfill that somehow, we want to feel that we are enough. And because we don't feel that and we don't know, see, the biggest challenge I've seen is that people are not even aware of what they are feeling. And I have been one of them. I have been doing life and, living life the way everyone else was living around me and accepted that this is what the life is. So it's not wrong if they are living the life like that. But this is the time, through this episode, the purpose is to make people aware of what is that they're experiencing, and they don't have time to, take a pause and think about their experiences and learn a bit more about how they've, learned to experience things. So coming back to food, when we have this void, we start to eat emotionally. There's a lot of things out there, emotional eating as a subject, right? So we start consuming food which our body doesn't even need. So we just try and accumulate stuff, right? To fill that void. Okay. So again, that doesn't really help us to our body, to our digestion system. And also it doesn't help us with our physical performance, because we would be gaining weight or, it would make us, more lethargic and more lazy, to be honest. So how does it change from the drishti perspective? So I'll see how I see the test. Okay. So number one, I would not create any resistance whatsoever about whatever is in front of me to eat. I mean, yes, I'm vegetarian, so I never have been in a situation that there is something which is meat or anything. But I would eat anything and everything that is over there in front of me in the plate. Because I've learned that the need of food is for the maintenance and survival of the body. Okay. Now, which taste I like, which taste I do not like, this is conditioning. And I am saying this from experience because there were a lot of items I was not eating as a child because somehow I was programmed that I don't like it, and I eat them all right now and I love them. It's not that I'm forcefully eating, I love them. But when I say I don't create any resistance, is when I taste it, I will not have a reaction whether this is extraordinarily amazing or this is rubbish food in terms of the taste. Because to me, all tastes are the taste independently and I enjoy them. Because I know why I was feeling things differently, because I was programmed to experience it like that. So what happens if you do like that is then you are more aware of what you're eating, you're more aware of how much you're eating, and you're more aware of what your body really needs. So, without going too much into details, but, people who follow strict diet, right? Now, I've learned one thing, that your body is so flexible, is so powerful, it can do whatever you train it to do. Okay? So if you eat healthy food, if you eat extremely hygienically prepared food for 5 to 10 years, you are actually making the life of your digestion system easy because you're only giving the quality food. Now in future, sometimes you were in a situation where you had to eat out, but you haven't trained your body to eat that type of food. What's going to happen? Instead, you have everything in the balance one. So you don't do something excessive and you don't do something too minimal. So what I do is, what do I feel like? So I literally ask my body, and I can have a feeling like, okay, I would like something like this, and then I'll eat that. And there is nothing I don't eat. There is nothing I must eat. Whatever is there, I'll eat. And if I feel, when your body needs certain nutritions, it will make you crave for certain food, is what I've heard. I don't know how much of that is true, but I have experienced it sometimes. Like if I don't eat sugar for 2-3 weeks, I do feel like I want to eat sugar. And then that particular day, I will just eat sugar. And then the next day, that will go away. So the idea is to not resist anything. There is no, there is no opposite reaction, nothing negative. There is no resentment about something, so you literally just are flowing with what is out there and just calling it experience.
Yes, and that makes total sense. Now, how about holidays?
Interesting. See, I think holidays are, again, they all fit into kind of the same criteria. It's like, who's the driver for you to engage in certain activities, right? Is it conditioning? Is it a relief from the stress you've been going through or the pain points you have? Or is it pure being present where you are, right? Now, how many people go on a holiday, right? There are multiple aspects to the holiday, particularly holidays. How many people, they go on a holiday, but while they're on a holiday, they're actually not being able to relax because they are already worrying and stressing about the pressure they've got or what they left behind before coming to the holidays. Now, what do we call that holiday, right? It's not even because they are so much overwhelmed with this pressure that they even carried that with them at the holiday, right? Some people, there's always like opposite personalities, right? So there are most people who are submissive to things. Why? Because that's how they've been conditioned. So you listen to your elders. So in at work we look at the hierarchy. So our manager. So whatever a manager says, we gotta accept it, and most people do that because of the job security and because of the pay rises depending on the review and all sorts of things, right? So you want to be nice to your manager, you want to be giving your best at your work so that your future is secured, right? That's what you get in return. So that's the one type of people who are, I would call it, submissive, right? But then there is the other side of people, right, who are who are aggressive, because their condition has been the other side of the wall or the boundary. And what that means is that what this side of the people are craving for, they already have and they want more, or they can literally snatch it. They don't have to wait or cry about things. They don't stress about things, but they literally just get things their way with their power they have or the strength they have, right? So if they went on holiday, I mean, what they want to do is, again, they also have a group who are like that. Within them there is a competition, who's above, who's not, who's below, and it's ongoing thing. Like if you come out of, that's why you got one goalpost and you reach there, and then there's another target, and then when you get there there's another target, because every target there's a circle and you want to be better than others at that level, so you jump onto the next level. But then when you get there you already see another group there, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm not the only one. Then you want to go even further, and everyone does that, and the life ends, but that race doesn't end, right? Excuse me. So coming back to the question, holidays is, so I was saying these people would be doing it to post and to show off, and that's what they really like. They want the fame, right? So they don't, I'm not saying they are complete, but they want something different. Like, for people for whom security is more important, fame, they can't be bothered about fame. But the ones who has all the securities and their personalities like just grabbing things, and I'm not saying it is right or wrong, or we're not here to define or judge anybody. What I'm saying is from the experiential, the internal state is what we are discussing here. Is, if they are able to intimidate their staff or the team members and get things done, and they get what they want out of it, right? Even within family, you could have your sibling who just somehow they manage to get things their way compared to the other one who can't speak for themselves, right? So it is everywhere, and it's how the universe balances, right? So the idea is to not fight it. The idea is to understand. So talking again, coming back to the holidays, are you on holiday, or are you doing something so that you can stop feeling what you were feeling before coming to holidays? And you know that as soon as you go back, you're gonna be back to where you came from. So you already know this is temporary, right? Whether you are doing this to show off to people, because two of your friends said they went to X place and now you got to go to even better place and tell them that, oh, I've actually been there as well. Is it that? Or is it from your true self? So you're enjoying your work, right? It's giving you blissful experiences, and now you have some time and you want to explore the world, what nature has created, or how the other places are. So you go as an explorer without expectations that it's going to be amazing, whether I'll be taking pictures or not. It doesn't really matter, just being there. And when you are there, you don't think of work, because when you were at work, you were not thinking of holidays. So you are able to remain where you are, right? And experience and embrace what is out there. That is, in my sense, in my opinion, in my experience, is true holidays. So you can ask yourself a question: why exactly you want to have these holidays. And I'm not saying if answer is because of you want the relief, it's wrong answer. That is a good news, because then the next question you should ask yourself, why am I stressed in the first place? And that's how your journey will begin. So we're not saying any of this is in a negative way. It is, if you are feeling that, congratulations, your journey has now started to be out of this.
And how can work and, chasing goals, chasing success, how can these be experienced through the Drusty lens?
So first of all, let's understand. So as I said earlier with other examples, the what is work, right? What is success? Now, success can be defined differently by different people, right? And we would then somehow resonate with someone's version of success. And we take it, we borrow it, and that becomes our definition of success. For most people, it's money, wealth, the fame, the respect in a society or their status, their luxury lifestyle, the number of holidays they do in a year. All these, how they define their success. What is your own definition of success? That's what you need to ask question, right? And the success doesn't, the condition success can change. It's like a goalpost. So it keeps changing, right? Well, we look at work. What is work? So you go to a place, or maybe you work from home, and you deliver something which is part of your skill or your ability, right? One of the two things, or something else. You are giving your time and yourself, and whatever you're able to perform is what you're doing, correct? So from conditioned self, if you look at it, we are doing our best, but we feel that we're not getting out of either this job or what we deserve and desire, or in life, because things run simultaneously, right? So you could be at work, but if you're happy at home because something happened with your partner or a family member or parents or brother or something that upsetted you, you are carrying those emotions here while you're working. You're in a very different frequency, and then your manager will come and tell you exact same thing, and that will make you feel you are worthless, right? So you look for escape, you look for substance, you look for something to distract you from what you are feeling. This is normal life for so many people, right? Instead, if we see that from drasti, that you're operating from wholeness, there is nothing you want. The problem isn't in wanting. The problem is until you receive what your state becomes. That is the problem. So we are not saying that you just give and do and find your joy there. That's not the idea. Yes, it is going to be that. But when your focus is into something to receive in return, you lose the joy, number one, of what you were going to, what was the potential of you experiencing. You miss that because your focus went into what you're going to get in return, and it's never going to be enough. Because what you're getting is not enough is also part of your conditioning. What is enough? If you had 100,000 pounds, or the listener's local currency, you probably wanted 500,000. And you sit down and do your calculations and like, okay, do you know what? If I earn 500,000 a year, I have amazing life. Guess what? You reach 500,000 a year. You sit down again and say, actually, I now need 1 million. When you hit million, it will just increase. So what is really happening? So as you start to earn more money, your lifestyle changes. It needs that money which you've just earned. So your inner state is still the same, that you want more, isn't it? But this is conditioning, right? So if you start living from drasti or your true self, you realize that you are already whole, you are safe, you are secured, and you are complete, and you are everything that possibly can be. So there is nothing more to get. And I've given this example many times, is if you are feel like you're the ocean, you feel that. I'm not saying you have to assume that you're ocean. When you meet your true self, when you see yourself away from conditioning, those emotions, those feelings are the feelings of abundance, feeling of fulfillment, feeling of completeness. And that is quite similar to feeling like the ocean. Now, if somebody comes and takes away 100,000 liters of water from the ocean's not affected. And if somebody comes and pours the same quantity of water, the ocean is still not affected, it's still the same, because it's complete. You are so complete, you are so whole, that no matter how much one can take away from you, you are still whole. And no matter how much people can come and give you, you are still whole. And when you are whole, everything you do, it's going to give you joy. It's going to fill you with bliss, because you want nothing. And everything you do are more experiences than even calling it a job. So the whole experience of your life will change when you experience seeing the life from your true self, from the drasti lens.
Now, is there one thing that you can share with the viewers or the listeners that they can basically start doing from today or after, experiencing this episode?
Certainly, and I genuinely feel that the listeners and viewers, hopefully they should have been able to apply even one sentence to their day-to-day life, or whether they are doing something, and whether they are able to identify whether what they are doing is escaping or living the truth. So to answer your question, what is that they can start doing after listening is, whatever you do, whatever you feel, right, just recognize what you're feeling, recognize what you're doing, and ask yourself a question: why you're doing it. And then you'll get the answer. And then ask again, why that? And then you get the answer and say, why that? And when you see this whole pattern or the loop, it will actually take you that you actually learned it from someone in the end. And if it was learned, it doesn't mean it's bad. But what you were experiencing about the stress, for example. So ask yourself a question: what is this stress about? Right? Because there's amazing world, right? Which I have amazing phrase or sentence like, nothing is end of the world. And that has helped me a lot. When I'm stressed, I'm like, what worse can happen? Nothing is end of the world. And even if world ends, I add to that, even world ends, I am no one to save it, because I don't have capacity or capabilities of saving the world, right? It's a cumulative effort with everyone. So when we are talking about world level, I mean, this stress is not going to be any more than, how we are experiencing it. So purpose isn't to take what I said literally, but, as a concept or as an understanding, that if you ask question, what is this stress about? The answer which you will get is, there is some sort of insecurity, there is some sort of fear of judgment, some sort of outcome which you are not prepared to accept. Because if that happens, you will be criticized somewhere, somehow, or you will make some sort of loss. And as a result, you are stressing now. It hasn't even happened. It may happen or may not happen, but you are stressing about the uncertainty of the outcome, because the outcome can impact the other things. So then you can go deeper into this question, right? Depending on what your answer is. So do this, when you're sitting alone, one day you go away from the social media scrolling and do this exercise. And I really, really, really hope, because I've done all of these, whatever we are speaking, and in future episode, whatever I will be speaking about, they all come from my lived experiences. They are not theories, they are not knowledge. It's not something I've just heard and believed it. It is my experience. And because I've experienced this, I'm so confident that other people can experience it too, because it's no longer a theory, because I've lived that experience. And that's the whole purpose. And, I just hope that the discussion or the subjects I had discussed today are somewhere helpful and meaningful to you. And hopefully, from this moment onwards, the life you are living will start to change slightly, because now you know that you need to ask questions. All the best. Thank you.